So what is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel once again. I appreciate having you here. Now, those of you that have read the title will know that today I'm on the CRF 1000L Africa Twin Adventure Sport, brand new for 2018. Right, so what I want to do is give you a first impression review on this. It's kind of a first impression, but I've got a little bit of a background because I own an Africa Twin. So I'm really excited about riding this. I have to put that out there. I'm a little bit tingly inside about having a go on this. And I've been riding it now for about half an hour. I've done 20 odd miles on it. And I'm going to take it around the back roads of Box Hill, some of those little country lanes that I like to ride. So we shall see what it's like, and I'll give you my opinion on it. Now, before I get into my opinion, I just want to say that I'm 6'2", 16 stone, or just over 16 stone, quite wide in the shoulder, have long legs, have quite long thigh bones. So that's just a background of me, so you get where my opinion comes from, because everyone's different. If you're 5'2", you're going to find this bike a lot different than I am. So I just want to put that out there and let you guys know. So what are the differences ergonomically between this and mine? I am going to do a walk round, so that'll tell you the differences that they've done between my model of Africa Twin and this, the new Adventure Sport model. So I'll go through that a little bit more when I do the walk round. But straight off the bat, I can tell that the tank is a lot bigger, and it is a lot bigger. It's 5 litres more, or 4 point something litres more, which means it's wider, so it's pushing my legs out more. Is that more uncomfortable? I'm not sure. I think I've just got used to a slimmer bike. You will get used to it in time, but what that means is there's less airflow over your legs, so in bad weather your legs are going to stay just a little bit more dry. And mine on the Africa Twin, the standard one, they don't really feel the weather as it is, so this is an improvement on airflow over your legs, so that's pretty good. It does feel taller than mine, and it is taller than mine. The seat height is up on what mine is, and that suits me better. Again, being long in the leg, that suits me. I can still flat foot this on the seat at its highest setting, but it's not as easy to flat foot as my Africa Twin. My Africa Twin, my feet are flat and my leg is slightly bent, where this, my feet are flat and my legs aren't that bent. So this suits me better. I get on with this height more. Handlebar seat pegs are pretty similar to mine, and it's pretty good. It is pretty spot on for my shape. Now, this version I have now is the DCT version, which means it's automatic. You've got various rider modes and different configurations of the automatic gearbox. Now, the reason it's got driver modes is because it's now throttled by wire, which means it's no longer cable, so they can control everything they need to via the computer system. And you've got different menus on here that you can go through. Once again, when we stop and have a little look round, I shall show you around those and let you know what's going on with that. And it's more responsive than mine because it's throttled by wire and mine's cable. Mine has a little bit of slack before it initially gets that bite, where this is kind of instant, but it's not snatchy at all. This is really spot on. The fueling they've got on here is absolutely spot on. I have got it in tour mode at the moment. As I said, I will go through the different modes when we get to the stop and have a little look round. It does feel slightly more top heavy than mine. Not a great deal. You don't really notice it unless you're riding back to back the Africa Twin and the Adventure Sport. You notice it slightly more on this, probably because my legs are at a different position, so maybe it just alters the way I ride slightly. As you can tell, she sounds absolutely glorious with this Remus exhaust. That's one of the reasons I bought my original Africa Twin, was this exhaust. I've got it on mine. It sounds absolutely wonderful. And it's a parallel twin, but it's got a 270-degree crank, so she sounds beautiful. A standard parallel twin doesn't sound that good, in my opinion. Some people might like the sound, but once you put this 270 crank in there, they sound absolutely glorious. Handling wise, she's good. She really is good. And that's because she's running on road tyres. This doesn't have knobbly tyres on here. You can get off-road tyres for this to take it wherever you want to take it. But the standard tyres it comes with, again, the same as mine, are pretty good. I mean, I've got to near enough the edge of my tyres and the edge of my toe down on the peg, which is not bad for this type of bike, considering it's got a 21-inch front wheel and an 18 back. It's not really a sports bike, but it handles its own on twisty roads. You've got to ride it in a different style to a sports bike. You've got to sort of like manhandle it a bit more, but on the road it's pretty good. And this is where this bike gets a bad rep. I bought one and I get slagged off time and time again because I don't ride it off-road. But what people forget, that this is a fantastic touring bike. This is a brilliant road bike. You could throw your luggage on there, you can ride all day long. And the difference is now you've got the tank range to do it. You have got the tank range to do it. That was one of the big bugbears of mine. If you look at my channel, I did 2 videos. I did one, 5 things I hate about the Africa Twin, and 5 things I love about the Africa Twin. Now I got a lot of hate for the 5 things I hate about the Africa Twin. It was just my opinion. Things like I don't like tube tires, and a few other things, tank range, heated grips, various other things that I think should come standard. Now Honda have addressed most of these with this bike. They're not running tubeless tires, so the option of that would be nice, but that's coming from a road bias point of view. So if you want to see those videos, if you haven't seen them before, I shall leave the link to those videos below. So let me know what you think about those. And that's why I'm quite excited about riding this, is because they've addressed some of those problems that I was complaining about in the first place. So touching on the 5 things I hated about it originally is cruise control. I can't believe this bike does not have cruise control. Now it's got throttle by wire, there is no excuse not to have cruise control. Now again, there's going to be people in the comment section that's going to go, why would you need cruise control? This is my cruise control, my throttle hand. Yeah, very well and good, but if you want to do any kind of distance, you've got to be in 100% tip-top condition. Now most of us aren't in 100% tip-top condition, so a little bit of cruise control on a straight road, if you're traveling between your dirt roads, let's say, wouldn't go amiss. There's nothing wrong with having a bit of comfort. It's not against the law. I feel straight at home on it. I feel right at home on it. As soon as I get on it, I just think, yep, back on an Africa Twin. I just love these bikes. I love adventure style bikes, and I absolutely adore the Africa Twin. And this paint scheme is beautiful. It's so deep. This one's dirty because it's a demonstrator, but the depth of the paint and the quality of it is stunning. It really is beautiful. As you can guess, I'm kind of liking this bike, but I knew I'd like this bike before I even got on it. Right, so what we have here is the CRF 1000L Adventure Sports Africa Twin. There you go. Try saying that when you've had a few drinks. Basically, this is the new version of the Africa Twin, of my Africa Twin. This is the updated version, the more, as it says, Adventure Sports. So it's got a few updates over mine. This is a DCT version, so it's automatic. But let me just take you through a few things that are different to mine. First off the bat is a wider tank, as in a bigger tank. It's got much more fuel capacity than mine. Mine's 18.8 litres and I think this is 24 point something. So a much better tank range. You've also got handguards that come as standard now. You've got this crash bar system that comes as standard now. It's a little bit taller as well. It is higher. The seat height is higher. It is adjustable, so you can drop it down. I've got it on a highest setting, which is good for me. You've also got this screen, which is a touring screen. It's a bit taller. Engine wise, I'm not sure if they've done any tweaks to it. This has the Remus system on, so it sounds fantastic. I believe it's got a bigger bash plate on as well. But apart from that, I don't think it's too different cosmetically. Where the real changes come is here. It's now throttle by wire system, and it's got a few other tricks up its sleeve. Let me just run through the dash with you. Because it's got throttle by wire, it means now you can have different modes. So you've got user mode, you've got gravel mode, you've got urban, you've got tour, and then back to user. And what that affects is these 3 boxes here. This first one is P for power, then it's engine braking, and then traction control. So you can alter in user mode all 3 of these to whatever suits you, and that is pretty good. Whereas my version, the older version, doesn't have that. It just has a throttle cable and you just get on and go. You've also got this will turn off your ABS, but rear only, and I believe it resets when you turn the ignition off and turn it on again. You've got this G spot here, I don't know why I call it a G spot, this G button here, which is a gravel mode. So when you do that, I think that sort of like sets it up for off-road. Because it is a DCT gearbox, it'll give you sort of like more control on steep inclines and that sort of thing when it gets a little bit slippery. So if you're a bloke, it's unlikely you're ever going to find the G-spot, so they put a G on it just to let you know. It's an LCD screen, which is the same as the old one. They've just changed it slightly. It's a negative setup, so it's white on black, which is pretty good to see. It's also got this, which shields it from the sun. My one doesn't have that, so that's a lot better. You've got your usual idiot lights, your ABS, traction control, neutral, your indicators. I can see in there temperature. I think you've got ABS off or traction control off there. Yeah, ABS off there. Full beams, fuel, HISS, which is the Honda security system, and I suppose that's fog lights. I'm not sure what this little one's down here. Ignore me if it's not. On here you've got different modes. You've got an arrow here which you can scroll through using this mode button here. So let's just scroll through this one. It says at the moment elapsed 14:57. I don't know what that means. Air temperature is 22. Elapsed, I can only assume that's 14 minutes and 57 seconds or 14 hours and 57 seconds time used on this bike. But it's only done 428 miles, so it is possibly 14 hours. I've got it on my bike, but I never use it. Right, up to this one now, you've got total miles. So if you use the select button, go down there, it'll tell you what mode you're in, your trip B, your trip A, and totals. So let's switch it down to this one, which is range. It's telling me I've got 52 miles left. Hopefully that range is always there to give you a full tank. That was one of my bugbears, and it is one of my bugbears on most bikes. I like to know how much fuel I've got left in a tank, or roughly. So you've got range. Trip is 223. It does a minus thing for some reason. Mine does it. I don't understand what that means. Just count up. You don't need the minus. Makes no difference. Average speed 29 mile an hour. Consumption is 10.9 miles per litre. I haven't touched this since I've got on it, so it is a demo bike, so it's probably a little bit less than you would get standard if it was your bike riding. Instant fuel consumption, then back to that. Up here you've got a rev counter around the outside, you've got your miles per hour, you've got a little clock here, engine temperature, fuel gauge and gear indicator. That's about it for the dashboard. You've also got a 12 volt power outlet here. Yeah, I'm guessing this is the same as mine. Yep, like a cigarette type. I don't know why they do that these days. They should just stick USB chargers on there. Right, switch gear. On this handlebar, you've got a traction control button at the rear here, and also your upshift. Let me just come around. That's your upshift if you're in manual mode. So if your upshift's there, your downshift's there. So you can use your finger and your thumb to change gears. You've got your full beams, your normal, and your flash there. This is your mode and your select for your computer system on here. Indicators and horn. You've also got heated grips on here. These come as standard. I will be honest and say these are not as good as aftermarket ones. They work, but they're not exceptionally hot. Also, what you've got here is a handbrake. Because it is an automatic, a DCT version, to stop it rolling backwards and forwards, whereas you and I would just put it in gear. You just put the handbrake on and that stops it doing that. Over to this side you've got a start switch and a cut-off switch all in one. This bit here is your control for your DCT gearbox. So you've got neutral and you've got drive and sport. So you can select drive, sport there, neutral there. This is for when you want to put it in manual. You press that and then you can use these buttons here. You've also got a hazard warning light there and obviously a brake. Let's have a little look at the lights. Right, on the front, if you can see that, you've got LEDs on the front. It is a lopsided one. I prefer when two lights light up, because otherwise you get those idiots that pull up next to you and you go, you got a bulb out, when you haven't. So you've got one light which is your standard, and then your full beam's the other light as well. You've also got LED indicators front and rear. These light up all the time. They're permanently on. So on the back, LED light and brake light and LED indicators as well. And what this bike comes with is this rear rack, which I quite like. I quite like that. The luggage system is the same as mine Honda do boxes. It just clip onto there. They're really easy to use. They're not the greatest because they're side opening, so all your stuff falls on the floor, but to take on and off they're really handy, and when you take them off you get this clean look. Wheels, 21-inch front wheel, 18-inch back wheel. Engine 1000cc parallel twin. The foot pegs are the same as mine. Most of it's the same as mine. So you've got these rubber inserts to stop the vibration, but if you want a bit more grip you can just yank them out and then you've got the grip there. Pegs are a little bit small, to be honest, if you've got big feet, but all in all, very, very good bike. Right, let's get back on and ride it a bit more, because I've got to take it back to the shop. So let's sit here at these lights and summarize. Would I buy this bike? Yes, in a heartbeat. I would buy this bike in a heartbeat. Would I swap mine for this? I'm not too sure. I love my bike. My bike and me are as one. And the amount of money it'll cost for me to swap, the amount of money I would lose on mine, I don't think is worth the extra money for me to basically upgrade to this. The throttle by wire, yeah, it makes sense in the DCT mode, but on a manual, I'm not really that fussed. I like the idea of it in the rain and gravel and stuff like that, but I don't really have any problems with mine. The traction control is that good. Although mine's only got a 3-stage traction control, this has got a 6-stage traction control. I've never had any problems with mine in the wet or anything like that, so I'm not too bothered about that. Tank range, is it worth me spending the extra money to upgrade from mine to this? I can spend £5 and get a jerry can and just strap it to the back and get the same amount of fuel. But if you are in the market and you want to go touring long distance and just have a really good bike, then I would buy this over the standard one if it was the only bike I had. If this was out when I bought mine, I probably would have bought this one over it, simply because I hate stopping at petrol stations to fill up with petrol, and mine, the light comes on at 165 miles on average, where this is probably a lot more, because it's got another 4 odd litres or 5 litres or however many litres it's got that much more. The seating is more comfortable than my Africa Twin. It feels a lot more plush on this. I don't know whether they've done anything with the sponge or the styling of the seat or anything like that, but it does feel a little bit softer than mine, and that I could go a little bit more distance without my backside going numb, so that's a good thing. If I was to take a bike around the world, would I consider this? You damn right I would! It's really good. It's really good. See, now I think my Africa Twin is a brilliant bike, but this just takes it up another level. This puts it into another category. This puts it into your adventure tourer market. You know, up there with your GS's. Although you shouldn't really compare this with a GS or say like a 1290 or the big Triumph Tigers, the 1200. You shouldn't really put this into that category, because this is more in the Triumph Tiger 800 and the GS 800 category for the price, the brake horsepower and things like that. But I'll tell you what, it's knocking on the door. It really is knocking on the door of those big adventure sports bikes. So I'm going to end the video here, so don't forget to subscribe, to like, to share, to do all those things that you need to do. If you've got a comment or you want to ask a question, leave it in the comment section below. As always, I will get back to you. Don't forget to go over to Doble's website or Honda's website for the full specification of this bike. I will leave once again those websites in the description below. And it just leaves me to say, I'm going to end it here. I absolutely love the Africa Twin. Love you all. Stay safe. Fish out.
Get all your bags, get out my house. I don't want your stuff around. I never did you wrong, but you did me wrong. So go ahead, get gone. Get all your bags, get out my house. I don't want your stuff around. I never did you wrong, but you did me wrong. So go ahead and get gone.